Hello, and welcome to Caffeine Entertainment. I am your host, Mental9R, and this is episode number 5 of the GMX podcast. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for joining us. Greatly appreciated. And don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Wow, we're already up to 43 subscribers. Can't believe anybody would bother subscribing to this channel, but hey, greatly appreciate those that have. As always, I am joined by my good buddy F1nTinTin, and I'll bring him on in a second. This is part 1. There will be a part 2. Let's get going. Hey, Finn, so how's things going, buddy?
Things are going good. How about you?
I can't complain. Things are moving along, and I'm excited to do another episode. We've got a few topics we'll hit here, just rip through them, and we may even split this in two again. We'll see how we're doing for time.
Sounds like a plan.
Cool. So what are you playing?
So I'm still playing FC24, as you're probably not surprised. I have played a little bit more Assassin's Creed as well, which is pertinent to one of the topics we have coming up.
Okay.
I have not yet played the Life is Strange, but I've thought about it quite a bit.
Okay, well, I have played about an hour and a half or so of Life is Strange, and it is absolutely not at all what I expected. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's probably a little better than I expected. Maybe I thought I'd be like, I can't play this, but it's interesting. My daughter was watching me play it on my Steam Deck a little bit, and she's like, "What are you playing?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a game called Life is Strange." And then I started explaining it to her, and she's like, "Oh, actually, that sounds kind of cool." So, yeah, I'm interested to know what you think once you get to it. That's for sure. But yeah, that's what I've been playing, and a little bit of Assassin's Creed still in the background because I'm trying to keep that going, but haven't had a lot of time to game in the last few days. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. So why don't we get into the first topic? I can bring up an article. Apparently, Microsoft is working on Halo Combat Evolve Remaster. Now, I don't know if this is just a remaster. It says remaster, but maybe it's a reboot. I don't know. Haven't been able to find much information that would lead me to believe that's it. But I think maybe the bigger thing is, and we've talked about this before, is that it's officially saying they're considering the PlayStation 5 release. So I gotta wonder if that remaster will just drop on PS5 and Xbox at the same time. I mean, this game's been remastered before. Originally, of course, it launched on the OG Xbox way back when, in I think 2001 or so. And then it was remastered on the 360 with an anniversary edition. And then, of course, came the Master Chief Collection. So it's been remastered a few times. But if they do this with something like Unreal 5, it could really, really spruce it up a lot, I think. It'll be interesting to see what comes of it. I know you're not a Halo guy, but do you think a remaster like this, considering you're building a PC, would you consider playing it on PC?
So that's a great question because I've heard so many people talk about what a great game Halo is, and I've only ever played it on the Xbox. I've played at least two or three iterations of it, not of the remastered version of the original Halo, but Halo 1, 2, and 3, or whatever they were called. And I never could get into it. I could never get into it, and I always just felt that the controller just felt wrong for a game like Halo. So definitely, I will definitely, especially since it's on Game Pass as well, no doubt. It's a bit of a no-brainer. I'll definitely try it again. I think you threatened me with using it as one of our backlogs, so so maybe that will be. I won't be able to make any excuses, but yeah, I'll definitely try it out. What I found more interesting about the story in a way is how you had called a couple of weeks back, or maybe a couple of months now at this point, that the day that they bring out Halo on the PlayStation 5 was the death knell for Xbox exclusivity. Well, looks like they're doing it, or they're starting to do it at least anyway.
Yeah, it's I mean, this has been talked about a lot. I mean, a lot of podcasts have talked about this situation with Xbox and exclusives and whatnot. And we talked about it after the show, the Xbox showcase, in our review of that. And it does look more and more like there's going to be some sort of console exclusivity for at least a while when games are launched. But on something like this, a game that's been out for over 20 years, it looks like they're just going to start farming them over to PlayStation. And this remake or remaster is probably an opportunity to do that. And, and it just seems almost like sacrilegious in a way to me that you would put a hallmark of Xbox on a competing console. But I
Yeah,
think the way of the future is that you're going to see that. And I think there's a good possibility Sony's going to do it eventually too. Better than average. I mean, especially if, like we talked about, if Game Pass is the new exclusive for Xbox, and we've seen the lineup they have coming, and it's outstanding.
yeah,
Maybe that does become a console seller, and maybe those games and that service is enough to draw people in. And if the console starts becoming more competitive in terms of sales, the pressure will kind of shift to Sony, I think, to start considering putting their older titles on Xbox too, because there's money to be had there. And I think everybody's looking for more ways to get more money. So,
yeah. I think of it again. Like I think of it a little bit differently. I align with a lot of what you're saying, but the one difference is I do feel like they're just making a play to be the major player in the games market, not necessarily in the hardware market, is what they're
yeah,
doing.
no, I
And
agree.
I think so. I guess the only difference is that I'm not sure how interested they are in how many, if this will sell more Xboxes. I think they want to sell more games. And yeah, we'll see. Maybe the day that Halo comes to Nintendo, we'll know for sure that that's it. But
Yeah.
no, it's interesting nonetheless. I'm sure it'll be a huge success on Sony. I'm sure the Sony fanboys will be laughing it up, and
Oh,
suddenly
yeah.
a
It'll
game that
be
they said was shit for 20 years
20 years is,
will suddenly be like, oh man,
yeah.
now that it's got Halo, it has everything. Sony is
Yeah.
officially the winner.
Well, you think back when Sony bought Bungie, it was hilarious to see on X how many PlayStation fanboys thought that meant they just bought Halo and that Halo was now going to be on PlayStation, not realizing Bungie hadn't been involved in Halo in over a decade. So it was pretty funny to see how that narrative shifted. So I guarantee you're right. The day it comes to PlayStation, there's going to be a lot of ridiculous stuff happening. I'm sure it'll be pretty funny, but
I'll look forward to
I
it.
don't know. I agree with you in the premise that Microsoft doesn't care that much about hardware sales. I guess my point is, if it does sell hardware because of Game Pass and the platform, that'll put pressure on Sony. If there's more competition in the hardware space, because right now they have no real incentive to put it on Xbox other than
Mhm.
I did hear on the XNC podcast. I listened to a bit of Colt and Mag today, and Colt mentioned that in the US the sales are actually probably closer than most people would think. It's around 24 million PS4s and to 17 million Xboxes. So, that gap's not that far apart in the US or North America.
Yeah,
So if that was to close up a little more, maybe, or that type of ratio worldwide, maybe we'd see, Sony maybe thinking twice about not having their old games. And I'm not saying their new ones will launch, but their old games, maybe, 5, 10-year-old stuff might make its way there. Because
yeah.
if you've got a base of 40 million, 50 million, if you get a 10% attach rate, that's millions of sales.
So I
So
guess
you never know.
number one, I think for Sony, the low hanging fruit for them would well, I haven't really thought about this at length, but I imagine both because of the number of consoles and because it's so big in Japan, where obviously Sony have a lot of Japan type
Yeah,
games,
I know where you're going
Nintendo
here. Yeah.
Nintendo would probably be one of their targets even more so than Xbox. But
Oh, of course.
I think the funny thing with Sony, and Sony fanboys can think of this as being like, oh, Sony are much more committed to it than Xbox. They kind of have to be because it's such a huge percentage of Sony's revenue versus Microsoft. Microsoft are mega mega company, and
Yeah.
Sony have so much of their revenue and their profit. All so all I'm saying, I don't know if that makes it more or less likely that they'll launch an Xbox. All I can say is that they can afford to experiment and screw up a lot less than Microsoft.
Yeah. Yeah. I look at it from the prospect of, 10% attach rate's pretty average. If there's 50 million consoles out there and you get a 10% attach rate, that's 5 million sales. That's a lot of money, and it more than pays for the effort to port it. Porting's not that difficult these days. Well, I mean, I don't want to underestimate how much work it is, but generally speaking, from what I understand, it's not as hard as it used to be, especially if the game's in something like Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's fairly
It,
straightforward. You just have to do a little bit of performance tuning.
yeah, the architecture of all of the consoles has become a lot closer to PC over
Oh,
the
for
years.
sure. Yeah,
So yeah, you'd imagine. I mean, I'm not like yourself. I'm not undermining the effort. I'm sure there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears spilled on it. But I think
yeah,
compared to previously, where you probably, if it was like the PlayStation 1 or 2 versus the original Xbox, you're probably talking about rewriting the game from the ground up.
yeah.
Versus now,
Completely different
yeah,
architecture.
yeah.
Yeah. Now it's just not. It's a lot easier than it used to be. I'm confident of that anyway. Okay, well, let's move on. We'll jump to the next topic, and that is your topic, my friend.
Yeah, like this is a game. It's been on my radar for a while. Another pile of shame game. It's actually been quite a successful series for Sony,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of them. One of the things I find confusing about Yakuza is that I always feel like I was late to the party. So now, like, it was like
yeah,
Yakuza 6 or 7 by the time I became aware of it. And then they were bringing out Yakuza 0. And I was like, okay, where the hell do I start? But
yeah,
they're supposed to be great games. But what I found interesting, and we don't have to belabor the point, but again, Amazon Prime is bringing another fairly well known game after Fallout
yep,
to their channel. Yeah, a bit of a theme we're seeing develop here. And I think and obviously we have The Last of Us as well, not so long ago. So a lot of people are starting to tap into the creative genius that's gone into some of these big games.
for sure.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, and it looks like we won't have to wait that long for it either. It says it's landing on Amazon Prime in the fall or autumn, this autumn. So, uh, I'm not sure if I want to play the game first or see the show first. And it's going to be interesting, I guess, to hear from the purists, the Yakuza fans, to find out if the show follows the games at all, if there's like any parallels. Like, as we just finished up with Halo, but that was one of the big complaints with Halo was the TV show didn't follow the lore to a T. It wasn't a video game on your TV that you were watching. It was a somewhat different story and of different controversies because of that. So I'm interested to see if Yakuza does something similar or if it's more like the Fallout series that generally speaking was well received. And that was Amazon Prime, of course, as you mentioned. So maybe it gets a better reception if they are a little bit more true to the lore.
Yeah, I think Fallout was just a good TV show, a good story.
Yeah.
It didn't follow any of the characters or any of the storylines from the original games, but
Yeah.
it just felt like it was in the same universe. And as to whether or not you'd enjoy it more having played a game, based on Fallout, I think I enjoyed it a lot more having played a game, but I could have enjoyed it without playing the game.
Yeah. I
It
think,
was just the little touches where like I mentioned before, when he was hacking into the console, the way the door opened up, like rolled
yeah.
across,
Yeah.
when those kind of things brought back nostalgia for me.
Me
Um,
too. Yeah,
but
for sure.
I would have enjoyed it even without that.
Yeah. I can't disagree. I think the beauty of Fallout. It's like you say, we didn't know any of the characters, none of that was familiar, but we've never played Vault 33 before. So that's the beauty of Fallout. Is there's, what, I don't even know how many vaults there are, but we've seen what 106, I think, was one of the ones we've seen. So we know there's at least that many.
Yeah.
And to be able to just jump to 33 and have characters we've never seen before, that there's no reason for us to think that breaks lore or anything like that, because we don't know about these characters. I think that part's brilliant. So, well, I'm interested to see the show for sure. It's something I'll be looking forward to watching when it eventually releases. And hey, maybe that's enough to coax me into actually playing the game at some point down the road. But why don't we move on to the next topic? And this one is a little bit dear to my heart, I think. And if you look at the headline, Steam users have spent $19 billion on games they've never played. And, as maybe regular viewers would know, we have a little show called Backlogs and Replays, where this is part of what we're trying to wipe out, is actually playing a lot of the games we've bought and never played. For me, that's a lot of games on Steam. Finn doesn't have quite as many that way, but he's got enough on the consoles to keep us busy for a long time anyway. So I thought this was pretty interesting and worth talking about. The pile of shame, it's
Between the two of us, I did buy a whole bunch of games on Steam. So when I started PC gaming again, like probably 10 years ago, and then I didn't update my hardware, and eventually I sort of grew out of it again. But when I did, having come from originally the PC world, then went on to consoles, then went back to PC. I couldn't believe how cheap the games were on Steam. I was like, what the hell? You can buy a game for $2?
Yeah.
So I went a bit nuts, honestly. While I haven't played it for a while, I still have several hundred games in my catalog in Steam.
Oh, man.
So I reckon between you and me, we probably account for like 0.1% of that total or something. But yeah, it's no great surprise. It's kind of it's like we said in one of the other shows. Like if you buy something that you don't play, no matter how cheap it is, it still isn't a good deal. But
exactly.
Even 5 cents is too expensive if you're never going to play it.
No, so true. And I've probably got 200 games at least on Steam I haven't played, which is pretty disgusting. But it's like you say, oh man, $2? I should pick that up. That's a great sale. There's a sale going on right now. And I've picked up several games, some of them Ubisoft games, because I'm mad at Ubisoft Connect, that stupid dumbass app. So I've picked up a few games again, but yeah, it's kind of pathetic. It's kind of pathetic, and it's nice to see we're not the only ones. And for those that are watching, I'd really appreciate you checking out Backlogs and Replays and leaving us notes in the comments or something, and just tell us, hey, this is a cool game. You guys should try it if you have it. Stuff like that would be really helpful. Would love to pick games that you guys want to see or recommend. That would be awesome.
That would be great, actually. Some suggestions of games that you had in your backlog for a while, you never played, and then you got to it, and it was amazing. Like, there's so many games that even on PlayStation as well, like, I saw reviews that it was revolutionary, it was amazing, and sometimes it takes a situation whereby, like, I was visiting my in-laws in Quebec. I only had my old Xbox, and I was like, what am I going to play on this thing? So I broke out, I think it was Inside, like on the Xbox, like one of these old indie games. It was really fun. But if just sitting at home, I would never in a million years have opened it up.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. I've done that with a few games on, like, more indie-like games, just on because of Game Pass. I've played a few games I never would have played.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a good way to do it. And of course, this week the next couple weeks I'm playing Life is Strange. But it would be really cool if we eventually got enough people watching Backlogs and Replays, so that even the viewers could, if they've got the game that we're playing, play it at the same time and leave comments to what they think about it too. That'd be awesome. But you know, we probably need about another 100,000 subscribers to achieve that goal. You know, 43, I don't think is going to cut it, assuming we still have them all. Maybe we lost a couple because of this video. I don't know. But anyway, I don't have a whole lot more to say about this topic. Is there anything else you wanted to add? We're 22 minutes in. We can maybe wrap up this part and move into you know, another part again. We're going to split it up again this week, I think, and try and keep them a little more bite size, and hopefully, you know, people have more time to watch that way.
Sounds good. Yeah. No, the only other thing is that, as I say, it's like you said yourself, it's glad to know I'm not the only one. I thought it was a problem. Until I met you, Mike, I thought it was a problem that was individual to me. Now I understand it's like everyone, right? So it's like, yeah, it's good to know.
Yeah. No, it's not. I mean, $19 billion. Like, that's a pretty good chunk of change. Never played, just bought it because it was on
I wonder,
sale.
I would be, we should research maybe one of the backlog and replays, but we should research, like, how much money do they make on those games that they sell for $2? I mean, they still have to pay royalties and all that, like, but something's working for them, like, because in a way, when I first was introduced to Steam, I said, these guys will never stay in business. They sell them too cheap, like, you know.
Yeah,
How can they?
I don't know. Like, do they pay additional royalties, or is it just the 70-30 split? Like, I would think the publisher needs to agree to sell it at that low price.
Oh, for sure, I would think so. I mean, you can't.
Right? So,
like, if you spent like $1 billion making a game and then they sell it for $2, like, you're not going to make your money back.
You know, they get their $1.40. Steam gets their 60 cents. You know, that's the 70-30 split. So if that's worth it, I guess if you sell, you know, 500,000 copies, it's better than a kick in the groin. But I don't think they'd sell that many. I'd be curious to know what actually comes in.
It'd be interesting to know Steam's perspective on it as well. Like, you know, like,
yeah,
they must think like those suckers.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's you got to wonder too about something like the Epic Store. I mean, you'll probably get into this once your PC's done. You get an Epic account; they're giving away games every week. I've got like around 400 games now on Epic.
Amazon.
It's
like,
insane.
I'm not sure if you ever checked it out, like, but Amazon Prime Gaming as well. I got these alerts and stuff that you get these free games from GOG or whatever else, and I'm like, I go and get the code but I never use it or anything. But I'm like, ooh, free game.
Yeah, I've got a notepad file that's let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I've got like 20 games that I've just got the codes copied down. Haven't gone to actually redeem them, but the codes are there. And I'm like, some of them I think I already have, so I'll probably just like dump them over to my daughter or something, and she can add them to her account. And I don't know.
One day now,
it's an addiction.
One day you'll find out, like, hey, honey, where's that piece of paper I had in my thing? Oh, I threw it out. I thought it was junk. What? That's 500 games.
It's digital. It's saved in the cloud, buddy. Okay. Digital notepad. Yeah. Who writes things down? Come on. You know me better than that. I barely know how a pen works. Yeah. Come on. But anyway, with that, we're stretching it into 25. So why don't you give them your deets of where they can reach you, and we'll get the heck out of here and go on to recording the next episode.
So F1nTinTin with an I instead of a 1 on PlayStation and Xbox, and just with the 1 on X. If you ever, no, I'm not that active on X, but hit me up and maybe I'll get more active.
Sounds like a plan. And I am at Mental9R on X, Mental9R on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam. And of course, we're Caffeine Entertainment on YouTube, and we are also Caffeine Entertainment on Rumble. So you can hit us up there if you prefer the green buttons versus the red buttons. Up to you. We make ourselves available as much as we can. Anyway, that is it for this episode, the GMX Podcast, episode number 4, part 1. We are going to have a part 2 again, and we hope to see you there. Thanks for joining us.